Hello and welcome. I'm Susan Rivers, Executive Director and Chief Scientist of the nonprofit iThrive Games Foundation. Today, I'll be presenting an innovative approach to using the power of game design and gameplay to support teens in building essential civic skills. I'll be demonstrating how creating and playing games can strengthen social and emotional skills, relationships, and communities, and how this impact is especially powerful when teens are involved throughout the design process. Veteran game designer Jason Vandenberg says, if we want to make a large positive change in our world, I believe the best route is to focus on providing teens with better models for the world. At iThrive, we agree, and would only amend this to say, the best route is to co-create with teens better models for the world. That's the vision we have been working to realize at iThrive through our co-design work with teens. Across settings, schools, summer camps, community centers, museums, and online, we prioritize being in community with teens, learning how they want to see the world evolve, and using play and design to help them develop games and other immersive experiences that reflect these better models. As one teen said of their experience participating in co-design with us, I realize now the change I can have on the world. Before I dive into our co-design approach, I want to address our why. Why teens? The science of the teen brain is relatively new, only 20 or so years old, and it's continuing to emerge. We do know that it is a remarkable period of growth and development, potential, vulnerability, and opportunity. This time leading up to adulthood is one of brain fine-tuning. The teen brain is strengthening neural connections that are used and pruning those that are not. Because of this, the teen brain is highly plastic, and the things it's exposed to during this time, both positive and negative, have a much larger impact than they will later in life. The changes happening within the brain at this stage drives teens to engage in and experience heightened creative exploration, social engagement, novelty seeking, and emotional intensity. And these superpowers of the teen brain can be hugely beneficial to us all because they help teens branch out, innovate, and take risks that push society forward. They're a large part of why youth across time have lent their energy, creative vision, sense of justice, and savvy to movements that make a significant impact on our world, from civil rights to mitigating the impacts of climate change to reducing gun violence, and so many more. But this kind of teen civic engagement requires fuel in the form of supports, including positive relationships, experiences, and opportunities. When those supports aren't there, when conditions are harmful or toxic, the brain changes teens are going through make them particularly vulnerable to experiencing a lack of direction and purpose, isolation from adults who could support them, impulsivity and risky behaviors, and overwhelming emotions. Right now, we're confronted by evidence of the toxicity we're exposing teens to in our society. There's a mental health crisis among teens that has been declared a national emergency by youth serving health organizations. The trauma of the pandemic, compounded by mounting awareness of inequities in our society and the complexities of life lived on social media, have fueled a mental health crisis among teens that was already brewing before 2020. In the United States, young people have for too long been inundated with stories of preventable violence, societal division, inequity, injustice, corruption, and the threat of climate catastrophe. Add on top of that dramatically increased academic and economic pressures and the deep social isolation brought on by COVID-19, and it's no wonder teens are struggling. Among high school students, depression and anxiety symptoms have doubled since the pandemic. 1 in 3 report persistent feelings of sadness and hopelessness. Suicidal thoughts have increased by 36%, and death by suicide has increased by 57%. Black youth are twice as likely to die by suicide compared to white children. Visits to the ER for depression, anxiety, and behavior challenges increased by 28%. The heaviness of these times weighs on teens and impedes their ability to take full advantage of the promise of this stage of development. The need to invest in teen well-being is clear and urgent. Collectively, we're currently not doing enough as a society to support teens to thrive. There are too few teachers and mental health professionals. There's limited access to tools and resources for parents and caregivers. There's disproportionate access for youth of color and youth living in poverty. Schools do not support the development of the whole teen. Teens feel bored, stressed, and anxious when they're in school. And outdated models of teaching and learning do not meet teens where they are. How can we really show up for them in this moment? What would it look like if teens were thriving? Our vision is that teens and the people and organizations that serve them are taking full advantage of the magnificence of the teen brain to optimize personal growth and well-being, establish healthy interdependence in supportive and affirming communities, and propel progress toward a more just world and a healthier planet. And as it happens, the same skills and community features that shore up teens' mental health also support essential civic skills. These are social and emotional skills, relationship skills, responsible decision-making, social awareness, self-awareness, and self-management. And in the last few years, there's been increasing recognition that social and emotional skills can be developed and applied in the service of civic action, justice, and equity. CASEL has put forth a vision of transformative SEL that highlights how social and emotional skills are directly related to priming communities for civic action. In transformative SEL, young people and adults build strong, respectful, and lasting relationships that facilitate co-learning to critically examine root causes of inequity and to develop collaborative solutions that lead to personal, community, and societal well-being. Our field-tested co-design approach centers us in community with teens to support us all in channeling the superpowers of their stage of development towards social, emotional, and civic skill building and civic action. We co-design in support of teen thriving and teen-centered games. It's the process and the products that we're creating. We are in community with teens, building strong, respectful relationships through games and through play and design. We are doing awareness building, critically examining lived experiences and the root causes of inequity, and social and emotional skill development. We channel the unique strengths of the teen brain, healthy risk-taking, out-of-the-box thinking, social engagement, powerful emotional experiences, in order to develop new games and game-based learning tools, collaborative solutions, civic identity, and advocacy. I want to show you an example of how this looks on the ground. This is a video clip of our youth designers who are part of a partnership we have called the Seed Institute. They are young people with lived experience in systems of inequity, the juvenile justice system, child welfare and family services, immigration, and the education system. We have been working in community with them to create several games that educate others about their experiences.
Every time we did like a board game or started brainstorming, she was like, okay, what do you guys want people to know? Like, what is your main goal? Who do you want it to reach out to? Do you want it to be kids, teachers? I enjoy it. I do. I enjoy our talks and I enjoy us creating together because they're all great minds.
I was like in a unit I call the peace unit, and she came in and she talked to me about like, what's my plan when I get out? And I don't even know what to answer that. When I get out, I didn't give her a call, none of that, but it was like 2 days later, I get like a email or text, and then I come, we sit down, she explained to me what we're doing here, making video games about like our experience. And then she said, come up with a game.
The game has a lot of pain in it, you know what I mean? And people learn through pain. It hurts to know certain things, but you need to. That's the point. You need to know these things.
The goal of the game is to get home. But while you're playing the game, there's all around the border of the board, there's setbacks. You don't answer your PO officer, you're going back 3 steps. You miss your drug test, you're going back 3 steps.
Like stuff that we go through in life, we just basically put it on the board game. Like hearing everybody's stories made it like relatable.
So we had a conference after everybody sent their game in from all around the world. A week later after that conference, she was like, yeah, you guys won nationals. And I was like, no way, Susan, are you lying? She's like, no, I'm not lying. We're all in a group chat so happy. Like, you've seen us this time. You heard us this time. You paid attention. Like, we did it, guys. We're done. We got it. And like, no one can take it from us. Like, we did this ourselves.
This approach is powerful for teens' skill building and mental health. As Laura Henderson says of this approach, putting teens at the center is a bi-directional process. The youth designers build social and emotional skills and increase their well-being, and peers who play the games learn from the youth designers' experience and expertise. So our co-design approach benefits both the young people who create the games and immersive experiences and the young people who play the games that result from the process. I want to share more about the guiding principles that ground our co-design work with teens because we found them to be incredibly productive and fruitful and inspiring. Co-design with teens toward the development of essential social, emotional, and civic skills involves 5 key stages. These stages aren't linear, but rather iterative. First, we empathize with teens and invite them into activities that support them in gaining a human-centered understanding of the problem they've identified. For instance, we start many of our design sessions with the open-ended prompt, "It drives me crazy when adults." We never have to wait too long for responses to pour in on that one. When we work together to define the core problem, for instance, adults want us to respect them, but they don't respect us, we analyze and synthesize our observations in order to define. Teens channel their creativity and empathy to ideate possible solutions to the problem in the form of game features and mechanics that are born out of thinking about what they want to feel and experience. For example, mutual respect. They prototype solutions, often by modding or hacking existing games like Sorry, to investigate the strengths and weaknesses of their approach. Then they repeatedly test and invite feedback on their prototypes to determine if they've created an experience that generates the outcomes and feelings they aimed for in the initial phases. This process is mutually beneficial. It can be cathartic and empowering for teens, and it helps us make games and learning experiences that really speak to teens and the world they want to see and engage with. What are our guiding principles in this work? First and foremost, to establish positive relationships marked by equity, authentic interest, care, and high expectations and support. Through these relationships, we model healthy collaboration and reciprocation that teens can then apply in their communities in the service of collective civic action. If civic engagement is ideally a constant dialogue, a sharing of expertise and authority, and sharing in decision-making, those are the behaviors we need to model in our interactions with teens to support their constructive civic growth and feelings of trust, safety, and mutual respect. We've found that when we design our educational experiences with and for teens from a place of centering positive relationships, the offerings themselves elicit deep connection and empathy and foster emotional safety as well. One example is our game-based curricular units for English and humanities courses, which provide opportunities to develop identity, emotional awareness, and relationship skills. Students have said, "I've learned how to be a better friend to some of my classmates after engaging with the units." And teachers have said, "I read through one of my students' reflections on saying goodbye to her former self over the loss of her innocence, and I literally cried." And this is what we hear from students, that by engaging in this process, you feel heard. That in of itself is powerful, transformative, and far too rare for today's teens. A second guiding principle for co-design that supports teen civic development is emphasizing play. When we lead with play, we can open people up. They think, "Oh, this is a game. This is going to be fun. I'm curious." We need that open mindset for civic action because it allows for co-creation of what's new, what's next, what's powerful. Our co-design work with teens incorporates time and space to relish in all kinds of play: card games, board games, digital games, competitive and cooperative games, games that make you laugh, and games that make you think. We use play and the interactions it facilitates to build teens' connection and fluency as designers. This is a clip from a class playing iThrive Sim, which allows students to do text-supported role-play simulations to grow their civics knowledge and social and emotional skills. You can witness the dedication to play as learning, and you see it come through in this interaction. in the joy of the role play, and in the deep connection it's creating among these class members. The next guiding principle we lean on is designing with teens at the center. Teens are hungry for opportunities to lead and choose for themselves, so we open up the space for autonomy and agency while providing structure, facilitation, and practical support. Teens contribute meaningfully to how sessions are run. We take their requests, priorities, and feedback seriously. They make the games they want to make, the games they want to play. Ultimately, they're in charge. Designing with teens at the center also means inviting teens into the safe space you've created to share their authentic experiences and explore what matters to them. The goal is not just creating a game or learning experience. It's teens' personal growth and development of self-efficacy. We want them to be able to feel their power to make change. As one designer said, reflecting on the game design process, I had to learn a lot about myself. I had potential that was hidden in me. The game unlocked those. The learning experiences we create using this co-design approach also emphasize this teen-centeredness. This is a screenshot from one of our iThrive Sim role-playing scenarios. The scenarios provide structure and rich content, but also a lot of room for improvisation and student-led connection. This invites teens to drive their own learning. They lead the conversations, they make the decisions. Adults act as facilitators and observers of the learning. A primary goal of co-design is that teens leave their interactions with us feeling empowered to make changes they want to see in the world and in their lives. And that's another of our guiding principles: support teens as change makers. We explicitly invite teens to think specifically about the change they want to make rather than the game they want to make. Games and game design are the creative and transformative vehicles by which to make change happen. Using the power of games, we're supporting teens to reimagine and redesign systems. This process itself is transformative. As Louisa says, this process has given me the empowerment not only to make decisions in my daily life, but also to learn about how the systems that have already been created work and how to disrupt them through games. I feel very happy to be part of this and help promote social change. As you saw in our earlier clip about our Seed Institute partnership, one group of youth designers released The Runaround, an award-winning board game about lived experience in the juvenile justice system. They continue to use this game as a springboard to lead and facilitate conversations with stakeholders in their communities, including people in positions of power, to change the circumstances, policies, and practices that impact young people. Adult stakeholders are open to engaging with and listening to the young designers, partly because they're invited into a playful experience. This softens their defenses and allows them to connect with and learn from young people and see the value of their expertise and recommendations. David Wright, one of our partners, says, these youth-centered design sessions aren't external interventions that people helicopter in and then sort of dump into the community. These are homegrown, these are organic, these are interventions that help people build the resiliency within themselves to be able to make the change they want to make. We have evidence that teen-centered design works. It's in the feedback from teens, their own words about how relevant, engaging, and meaningful the experiences are. It's also in the objective quality of the experiences. When teens are involved throughout the process, we collectively make games that inspire, transform, and wow people. iThrive's teen-centered experiences have won numerous awards already. So I invite you to consider, how can you show up for teens in this moment of need? How will you help them to channel their magnificent strengths into games and experiences that support their mental health and impact our communities for the better? We've created a comprehensive guide to our co-design approach that's available for free to download on our website. And no matter where you're located, we have dozens of games and experiences currently available and also currently in development. Thank you so much for your time. Enjoy the conference.